Welcome to Magnify with Sue, the podcast for people who've done everything they were told and still feel something's missing. I'm Sue Paulson. Every week, we look at what it takes to move from self doubt to self love, from fear to inner peace, from striving to be enough to remembering you already are. Because the truth is, you came in magnificent. The essence of you isn't out there. It's right here in your own heart. So let's go find it. Let's magnify. My focus has always been kind of how to. How do you do things? Well, when I retired from there, it caused a kind of a change in direction. Okay, what am I going to do now? And I had a near-death experience in 2007 that just shook me to the core and got me thinking about life differently and my life particularly differently. And so it opened up a new set of pathways that I've been going down pretty well ever since.
Well, Miss Sue Paulson here on Abstract Essay. We celebrate you. We salute you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And today, let's talk about one of your book, Magnificent Misery. So you describe your life as the chills, peels, and thrills of a roller coaster. Two divorces, two bankruptcies, failed businesses, and near-death experience. Two bouts of cancer. That's not a marketing pitch, that's a survival story. What kept you from giving up during the darkest of those seasons? That was it was think it's time, or did you find different reasons to keep it going?
Well, I think in the early days when I experienced a variety of episodes that weren't a lot of fun, like going through divorce or going through business failures and going through bankruptcy, I, I guess I grew up with a determination and a fortitude to just keep going no matter what. That's kind of the family dynamic that I grew up with. And so there was always hope for a better outcome. So when things got bleak or I felt like giving up, something would just bubble up in me and I would just keep going. So that kind of set the stage probably for later in life because I discovered quite quickly that you can live through bankruptcy. It hurts a person's pride and it feels very like a very shameful kind of thing until I looked around at all the big businesses that don't make it either. And I'm thinking, wow, they had more resources than I had and they didn't make it. And so I reframed what I was seeing out in the world and what I was experiencing and decided, okay, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe there's some good that will come from this, which of course there was because I learned. So then as I got into some of the more devastating and kind of life redirection of near death and then cancer. Well, I already had some resilience built up, and that same sense of hope and faith just rose to the surface, I guess, to help me keep moving forward.
Mm. Well said, well said. Miss Sue, you call yourself a magnificence mentor, a title that audacious in the best way. Where does that word come from for you, and what's the difference between helping someone feel better and helping them awaken to their own magnificence?
Oh, those two great questions in there. So, first of all, the topic of magnificence, I mean, it's not my concept. It's out there in the community and in books I've read, but I had never, until I had the near-death experience, I had never really latched onto it as a possibility, at the idea that we as humans, when we come to this planet Earth, we're born magnificent. That um, contrary to what the way I was brought up was, well, no, you're born a miserable sinner, and then you have to get better somehow. You have to figure it out how to do better. Well, I don't believe that that's the case at all, or at least I was shown that that is not how it works, that we are born magnificent. It's just we deliberately forgot gravity, just the density that there is here on planet Earth, and living in a human body makes it more challenging. And so we soon get swept up in the idea, everybody else's ideas, because we have no power when we're born. And so other people's beliefs and conditioning kind of sets the stage to show us what they believe. And it isn't till maybe years later that we realize, whoa, so this sleeping that we do and the making of ourselves as a life improvement project. Well, I just need to figure out how to fix myself, how to be better, how to be more than I see myself now. Well, it's like it's a futile effort because we're starting from the wrong place. When we start from a position of lack, where nothing is ever enough, we're not enough. What we see in front of us isn't enough. While we're striving for more, 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 more. Well, we're never going to get more because we're starting from the wrong place. So my own awakening when I realized, whoa, I am way more than I ever imagined. It was a little scary to start with because I wasn't sure that I measured up to that because of the way I had been conditioned and figured I wasn't enough. But then as I've been transforming my own journey and looking at my own life and embracing well, starting with awakening to this concept of magnificence, I came to understand that this is it for everybody, that we are all that. It's just in the forgetting. If you've been asleep for lots and lots of years, then it is an awakening to say, oh, what about this? What about that? So rather than, and I think the difference when you talked about, what's the difference between making us feel better and awakening to our magnificence? Well, it's the difference between having temporary solutions. Well, I feel better because I got a better job. And until you get used to that new job and find things that aren't working as well as you had hoped they would or whatever, you're happy with that. Like you feel better. And then you get used to it and you go, yeah, it's okay now. And so you don't necessarily the sustainability of feeling better is not there. It just doesn't last. Whereas if we begin to awaken to the power that we already have inside us, our inherent power tools, I call them, and our all the amazing facets that make up our character, our personalities, our talents, our skills, all of those kinds of things, then we begin to realize that, oh, inside I'm so much more. Well, how do I bring that out? How do I manifest that?
Interesting, Miss Sue. Your first book is titled Magnificent Misery. That's a jarring combination of words. What do you mean by magnificent misery, and how do you come to see your own suffering as something other than just pointless pain?
Right. Well, I'm a very optimistic person. I have always uh, for more years than I can count, looked for the gifts in the suffering, the gifts in adversity. And so there's no question that I've had some misery in my life, but it was just a flash in time compared to the ultimate gifts that came out of that. Now, sometimes we don't know that there are gifts and we don't know what they are when we're right in the midst of whatever misery that we have going on at the present time. So it's very much a retrospection. As we look back and say, oh, what gifts came out of that? And if we really look, we're genuinely interested in saying, well, what was good about that? You know, it felt all bad at that time, but what was good about it? Then we begin to realize, wow, there's something pretty magnificent about what just happened. My life is way more uh, positive, way richer, way everything that's that's great, more magnificent because of the misery that I went through. So this is why, the from adversity to ecstasy. Well, when we awaken to the good not only in us, but the good that comes out of what we experience, then there new pathways open up, new doorways open up for us.
Thank you, Miss Sue. You had a near death experience in 2007. Walk us
Mhm.
through that, what happened, and not a clinical version, but what you experienced and what did the moment teach you about life, death, and what actually matters that you could not have learned any other way.
Well, as often happens, I think, with people who have a near death experience, it was a medical emergency that eventually transported me to the other side, what people know as or label as the spirit realm or heaven or the universe, whatever it was. And when I was there, what I learned about not only what I had thought life was like, which proved to be untrue, but what I learned was that this knowing of unconditional love, this feeling of unconditional love that I had never experienced previous to that, that each of us is part of this bathing of unconditional love and total acceptance, that there's no right and wrong there, there's no good and bad, there's no comparison there. Because of the uniqueness of each individual, we're all equally special, I guess, each in our unique way. So that set me back quite a bit, because it was wonderful, first of all, and I never wanted to leave, but but of course, eventually there I was back on planet Earth going, "Oh no, don't don't vote me off the island." Anyway, I don't know where I would have learned that. And the other thing that I learned that I had strived for my whole life and never found the key, I learned that I was enough just because I existed. Like I was part of this overwhelmingly amazing spiritual sense just because I existed. I didn't have to do anything to get there. It was basically, you have a chair at at the table, and all you got to do is pull out this chair and sit down because your name's on the back. You don't have to do anything to earn that chair. It's not about earning. It's about, you're already part of it. And so the understanding of that really helped to seed the concept of magnificence, because it took away that sense of lack, or, well, I have to do something to measure up, or if only I could talk to God. Well, I guess I don't measure up enough to do that, which of course I found to be totally false. That there was nothing I had to do except decide that I was a worthy part of this, and I was already in communion. I just hadn't been paying attention, or I hadn't been listening.
Mhm. So, Miss Sue, you had two bouts of cancer. You wrote the book called The Healing Call of Cancer, not the battle with cancer, to fight against cancer. Why call? What is the cancer calling you to do or to become you would not have done otherwise?
Well, for me, cancer was very much a wake up call. It woke me up to s- some mind limitations that I had at the time. It woke me up to the fact that I was not paying attention to my body in a way that would serve me. That I was kind of abusing my body. I had symptoms that I ignored, and I wasn't. I mean, this is where you're going to live if your body gives out on you, right? And
Mhm.
so I realized, whoa, I hadn't been paying attention. So for me, it part of it was the physical, was to wake up to the fact that me and my body are in this for life. And if I and it's the body is a communication tool. Well, it sends us signals all the time. I mean, you cut your finger and it hurts, and the body's sending you a signal, hey, something's wrong with your finger, you might want to look for a band-aid or do something to make that right, or to begin the healing process. So it sends us signals all the time about everything. If we're upset emotionally, if we have stinking thinking, then it sends an alert like you're stressed right now. Don't you want to do something about that? Well, lots of times we ignore our bodies and we treat them like a car. Say, well, if there's something wrong with me, well, I'll just go to the doctor and they'll fix it. Well, it's a little more complicated than a car. The body is uniquely wired to look at all aspects, spiritual, emotional, physical, and mental. And so it woke me up to that whole area that I needed to look at the whole, not just the components. And so for some people, and for me, it woke me up to the idea that I could live my best life if I paid better attention. So that was the wake up call for me. And I mean, we all have cancer cells in our body all the time anyway. It's just that our immune systems normally deal with these um, defective cells or rogue cells, and they like our little army and goes in and gets rid of them. But of course, if you have some prolonged stress, for example, then they can get a toehold, and if you don't pay attention, then cancer comes and says hello, hello, and we get this wake up.
So, Miss Sue, you distinguish between self improvement and embracing magnificence. What is the difference? Can someone just improve their way into feeling magnificent, or is it a fundamental shift that improvement alone can touch?
So it's very much an inside out treatment. If you're looking for the long lasting effects of magnificence, you go into the heart, you go inward, not outward. So most of us look outside. Okay, is there a tool I can use? Is there a remedy, a recipe, or whatever? So we're looking outside of ourselves to improve this or fix that or change that. And while some of that may be valid, if you haven't looked at the inner you to start with and recognized that you're at your core, you're way, way more than anything you think you need to improve. So it's a different focus, first of all, and it's a different emphasis because rather than, I mean, self-improvement by its very nature means that that there's something wrong with you, that you're not all you could be. Well, if we go from the inside out, then we're starting from a place of, wow, I am all that. Well, now what am I going to do with it? And then we look outside and say, oh, maybe I discover inwardly that I have this amazing musical ability. Well, musical ability gets even better with some training and some focus on it and some practice and all of those and performance, all those kinds of things. But it's hard to get as much of that as you can if you only look at it from the outside. And if you start and say, wow, I have a lot of talent in that arena. Well, what more could I do with it? Like, how could I bring that out so that not only do I feel wonderful about it, but I can share that talent with everybody else? So it's very much starting as an inward focus and recognizing the the diamond in the rough, if you will, that you are, and then you can always, and then the beauty is in the polishing. And so I found, for example, when I write, well, my rough draft is exactly that. It's rough. It's my thoughts, my ideas that may or may not read smoothly and so on. Well, the magic is in the editing. Did I start with something that was wonderful in the rough draft? Yes, absolutely. It was my idea, and I created this copy that then I polish to make it even better. So it started good, and then I made it even better. So that's where we want to start. Is we want to start and recognize, I'm really good. I'm really, really, really good. And what more do I want to add to that? So it's not the, okay, I got to take away a bunch of stuff that's bad about me. It's I got to add I want to add to what's already wonderful that's there.
Well, Miss Sue, to wrap up our discussion for today, you write about magnificent, not worthiness, not enoughness, not resilience. Why the specific word? What does magnificent capture the other words mess?
I think it's a more all-encompassing word. It's I think it takes all of those other words that you just mentioned, and they are part of magnificence. And then there's even more to it than that, that I'm still discovering. And of course, that's one of the reasons I'm on this path is to help others discover what that is for them. You know, their version or idea about their own magnificence might be different than mine. And as it should be if that's the case. So it takes everything that you ever thought about what's great about you and puts it all into this big word called magnificence.
Well said, well said. Miss Sue, so can you please invite the listeners to support your books, your projects, or your upcoming book, or anything you want to promote on Abstract outside?
Yes, certainly. My books are available through Amazon. And um, if anybody wants to explore more about the concept of magnificence and what I'm talking about, you're welcome to participate in my on my YouTube channel at Sue Paulson, where I have over 200 videos, I think, that give you more content on what that's all about. And of course, that's all free and available right now.
Well, yes, people, let's support Miss Sue Paulson. And for sure, more and more empowering books like this to rise. I have one more question, Miss Sue, before I will let you go. If a listener is in the middle of their own magnificent misery right now, going through something hard, not sure they can make it through, not sure there's a meaning on the other side, what would you want them to hear from you? Not a platitude, not a silver lining. What's the truth you've learned that you wish someone had told you at your lowest?
I think to recognize that you are more powerful than any adversity that ever comes your way. So understanding that and looking for, well, why am I more powerful? One of the things you can do is look back at any adversity you've already come through and realized that determination was one of your power tools. You had courage to get through it, and courage is just small acts of bravery piled on top of one another, and you found the courage to do it. You have faith and hope. Those are two more power tools that you can use to help get you through. So those things, to recognize that whatever misery you're in right now is not as big as you.
Well said, Miss Sue. Thank you for empowering us. Thank you so much for your time.
My absolute pleasure, Daniel.
Maricam people, see you soon.
My magnificent ones, this is the journey, moving from fear to self-love, from doubt to inner peace, from hiding to shining. One episode, one conversation, one insight at a time. If you're keen for more, the Magnify with Sue newsletter is a tool you'll love. Week after week, we do this work together. Not as a one-off, not as a nice idea, as a real practice of discovering and embracing the magnificence that you already are. To sign up for this newsletter, join us at magnifywithsue.com.